Hey, what up everyone, this is Mondo All Day, back with another video, and in this video, I'll be going over my build guide for Ironman. I'll be going over which artifacts I use, which uniques I use, and then I'll be going over PowerPoints, where I place them, as well as my Omegas and Hero Synergies. Do keep in mind this is using roughly 3,000 Omegas, give or take here and there. But again, I'll be going over that information, and at the very end, I'll be going over my rotation and gonna give you some tips and pointers on how to pass Cosmic Trial with Ironman using roughly around 3,000 Omega. So let's get right into it. So the first artifact I've used is White Suit Jacket. I'm using this for the defense rating, the damage rating for the health. Next is Kevlar Plated Helmet for the deflect rating. Not so much the deflect rating, but more importantly for the critical hit rating to range attacks, but also when you critically hit, you gain 3 fighting, so it's very, very useful for him. Then I use a War Scroll Medallion for the +1 fighting, health, and power duration. Knowing that too is that when you hit with a physical power and energy power, you gain 2 fighting, so that's even very good, beneficial for him because he is a physical power and energy power hero. Then I use Advanced Hellfang of Zerathos for the +2 durability. I use this because of that reason, but +2 durability because he is a bit weak, and also too, this also gives you defense rating as well too. As you know, Iron Man is not the strongest character, but hence why I use that for the +2 durability and the defense rating. Then I use Improve Arc Reactor for the +2 energy, the increase of suit power, the base damage versus bosses. And also, you take 2% less damage from enemy energy powers. So it's very, very useful for him, especially with suit power, because he does use up a lot of spirit or suit power in this case. Very similar to Star-Lord in the sense that he is very spirit dependent. So that's hence why I use this. Then for uniques, I use all of his uniques except for one. I use heavily modified mercenary assault rifle. I'll use this again for range because when you have it set to, gives you +3 ranks to all powers and also +6 rank to range powers. So combined, that's +9 to range powers. So, and all of his attacks are all range except for one, which I'll explain in a bit. But all of his attacks all the powers that I'm using are range except for one. So again, that's easily, I'll definitely help out a lot for him. But everything else is all his uniques. Now for ring, I'm using Industrial City Ring for range attacks, for obviously critical hit rating and critical damage rating and health. And then for the costume, grade 1 through 4 critical damage rating as always. And then for the core, I have it to where I get +1 durability, intelligence, and +1 energy. So it might not be the best core, to be honest with you, but it does the job. Now, would I suggest using the specific core that gives you a certain amount of health and spirit? Maybe for the health, but not so much for the spirit, because I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but one of his attacks restores spirit, so not really necessarily need that much spirit. So again, I'll go over it in a bit. And for Insignia, I'm using Insignia Wolverine for when you critically hit. You and your allies gain damage rating versus weakened hit targets, as well as brutal strike rating and brutal damage rating. And also for the defense rating, again, he's a bit weak, and also for the critical damage rating. So this is very useful for him because he needs that defense. And then for the pet, I have it to where I take 2% less damage from enemy area bosses, 3% increase in move speed, 3% base damage to area powers, which is a lot, +1 rank to movement powers, which I might even reset that, but it's okay. And then +3 to energy. Then I have Forged 800 defense, and I have it blessed to where I get 200 damage rating to range powers and energy damage rating to 200 to enemy energy damage rating. And then for legendary, I'm using a McCrane crystal again for the increase of suit power, health, damage rating, critical hit rating. So it's very useful for him because again, he is very spirit dependent. So keep that in mind. So let's get right into as far as the PowerPoints. Arc Reactor, max that out, it's passive and toggle. Micro Missile 15, Missile Control System 5, that's a passive and toggle. Keep that in mind. Arc Reactor Overload, max that out. Adaptive Armor, max that out, that's also a passive and toggle. Life Support System, that's also a passive and toggle, max that out. Repulsor Barrage, max 1 there, sorry. Death from Above, max that out. Coolant Blast, max that out. Jericho Bombardment, max that out. And then obviously Signature, max that out. So again, roughly 3,000 Omegas. And in this build, I did use over 3,000. I made it right now, as you can see. So let's get right into where I placed them. Arcane Attunement, I did 5 for Doom's Mystic Armor for the Brutal Damage rating, Brutal Strike, and Critical Hit rating to energy powers and attacks. Interstellar Exploration, 1 for Earth for the base damage. And then Ego of the Living Planet, 1 there for the +1 durability, speed, and energy. Special Weapons, Assault Rifle, 1 there for the base damage range powers. And then Silencers for the base 1 base damage versus enemies not targeting you. 2 for Furry's Needle Gun for the attack speed and also cost reduction to range powers, which is all of them except for 1. And then Night Night Pistol for the base damage to range powers. Mutation, obviously, 3 to Warpath for the fighting. 2 to Sunfire for the base energy damage. And then 1 for Frenzy for when you hit with a melee power, you gain critical damage rating. And I explain that why I'm using that. Nothing there. Nanotechnology, Spin Tech, 4 there for the damage rating to bosses. Human Augmentation, nothing. Psionics, 3 to Melt Phase for the brutal damage rating. Molecular Adjustment, 2 to Antigenesis for the +2 energy and deflect rating and mental defense rating. Exogenesis, 4 there for the base energy damage and the energy defense rating. Also 2, regenerate 8 health when you hit with an energy power. And that should be all. Hero Synergies, Captain Marvel for the energy damage. Doctor Doom for the signature damage. Hawkeye for the move speed and critical damage. Human Torch for the area damage. Iron Man for the range power and energy damage. Silver Surfer for the move speed and energy damage. Star-Lord for the critical rating to energy powers. Vision for the range and damage to machines. War Machine for the suit power, +1 fighting, and then Wolverine for the brutal strike rating and brutal damage rating. Now let's get right into the fun stuff, as I usually say. I am using King Thor as a team up. Just keep that in mind. So, how I play with them. Okay, first off, my action bar consists of this: Repulsor Barrage, Coolant Blast, Jericho Bombardment, Micro Missiles, Death from Above, Arc Reactor Overload, and then Signature. Action bar number 2, I have all of his toggles. Now you want to have these activated because, and I'll go over what they do. So the first toggle, which is Adaptive Armor, I have that on, which is this one right here, because it's a passive, but when toggled on, when you get hit, automatically you create a shield, but it absorbs some damage. Not the best, but it does something, and I'll explain what it does when it's toggled on. The next toggle is Arc Reactor Enhancement. Obviously you get maximum suit power, but when you have it toggled on, it increases the cost to suit power, increases the cost, but what it does is it also increases your damage rating. So it's very useful to have it turned on, hence why I'm using this artifact Arc Reactor, because it gives you almost 300 suit power, and also too, this legendary gives you 200 suit power. Hence why I mentioned that Iron Man is very spirit dependent, or in this case, suit power. The next one, Life Support System. It's a toggle. You want to have that on because you and your allies gain Constitution, restoring 210 health per second. Again, very useful. And also, 2, you regenerate 100 health. And suit power when you are defeated. That's not relevant, but I'll explain what it does. And then Missile Control System, I have that on because it automatically, it does damage with missiles automatically, obviously. So again, you don't have to have it on, but I do because, again, I want that extra damage randomly, and plus you get critical hit rating as well too. You get the increase. Now, the reason why you want to have all these on is because certain powers give you even more damage when you have certain toggles on. For instance, Coolant Blast. When you have Life Support System, which I believe is this one right here, when you have it toggled on, Coolant Blast, what happens is that when this particular toggle or passive is toggled on, Cooling Blast is gets 100% damage increase and has a 6-second cooldown. Hence why I have them maxed that out, because putting that together, it does a lot of damage. Okay, that's one. Number two, when you have, for Death from Above, again, this is a melee attack, when you have Adaptive Armor toggled on, a Death from Above deals 100% damage and has a 4-second cooldown. Again, that's even more extra damage. Okay, and then, where's the other one too? I believe that is all the toggles that you need. Yeah, I believe that's up. Oh, this one right here. I don't know, I was missing one. Repulsive Barrage. When you have up to 3 toggles turned on, which in this case I have 4, but when you have 3, you get 10% increase of damage. A 10% increase of damage. So if you put 3 of them together, that's 30%. So you get 30% increase of damage right off the bat, just for this specific power. Hence why I'm using this one, not anything else. Now, you can use Unibeam because it does deal a lot of damage, but I will say it does take up a long time to kind of power up. But for Cosmic Child, you don't have that much time. I mean, don't get me wrong, Unibeam does do a lot of damage. I'm going to say this right now. It does do a lot of damage. If I were to replace one of these powers, will probably be Micro Missiles with Unibeam. Because again, based upon this build, a lot of it's emphasizing more on energy. As you can see, it's more on energy than physical, because some of his powers are physical damage based. Like these two are physical damage. This one is physical as well too. But some of them are energy, like Cooling Blast. His signature, Jericho Bombardment. It's obviously, again, signature is energy. This one, Repulsive Barrage, is signature. I mean, it's energy, excuse me. So hence why this would be perfect, because combining with my build, it's all energy based. This would be perfect. And not only that too, when you have Arc Reactor Enhancement toggled on, which is this one right here, you get 100% damage increase. And again, if I were not playing Cosmic Trial, I would definitely replace Micro Missiles with this. But keep in mind that when you have this Unibeam turned on, it does take up a long time to get the full 100% damage. At the end, I'll show you what I mean, but let's get right into it. So the way I play with Ironman is very simple, very lazy, very simple. And we'll toggle. Well, actually, leave it on. But the way I do it is like this. And you want this Arc Reactor Overload here, and I explain why. But it's very simple. Jericho Bombardment Missiles, basically what that does is it brings missiles up in the air, and you can kind of place them somewhere. See? Nothing relevant, but I'm just showing you. Number 2, Micro Missiles. It just basically it enables missiles and attacks enemies randomly. This is what I mean. Okay, so we got that going on. Now, again, these two you can activate them whenever. Jericho, you can activate it literally whenever you see enemies. Just activate it somewhere, and then activate Micro Missiles as soon as possible. That way, it just does random damage, except for Jericho. Now, when to use Cooling Blast, Death from Above, and all this stuff is very simple. Let's just say you're playing right now, right? Perfect example would be here. Let's say you're doing Cosmic Trial and you have a lot of enemies like this. What I usually do is do Death from Above first. That way I can jump into an area and do area damage. Once there, I activate Cooling Blast. Because what that does is freezes the enemies. And if you remember correctly, when you have, which one was it? Life Support toggled on, you get an 100% increase of damage. It's going to even do more massive damage. Same with Death from Above. When you have Adaptive Armor, which I believe is this one, turned on, it's going to even do more damage. So, how does that look? It looks something like this. See right there, almost 1 million. I usually do that because, again, that way when I land, when I do damage from Death from Above, and right away do Cooling Blast, I'm just going to do a lot of damage. Now, Arc Reactor Overload, when you use it, I would probably use it combining with these two, Death from Above and Arc Reactor Overload, because Arc Reactor Overload, wow, it's like a tongue twister, does a lot of damage, but it does area damage. It's not the best, but it does area damage. So this is what it looks like. And so hence why I always do Death from Above and Arc Reactor Overload together, because I want them, as soon as I do damage with Death from Above, I do Arc Reactor, I get that damage from here. Looks something like this. See? And then you obviously want to do Cooling Blast. And then do your other. See what I mean? Now, the reason why you want to have Arc Reactor Overload here in your health bar is because it restores 40% of your suit power. So if you're using, and I'm just going to show you, I'll show you. So when you're playing, and again, Ironman is very spirit or suit power dependent. So when you're playing, using all of his attacks, I'll spend as much spirit. Okay. 100. Look, I'm gonna do Death from Above, and then Arc Reactor Overload. See that? It increases your spirit. That's why if you see my Cosmic Child video, I use these two combined. So again, so when I land, and not only do I get the damage of Death from Above, I also get the damage from Arc Reactor and regenerate my spirit. And then obviously Cooling Blast. Now for Cooling Blast, my advice is activate Cooling Blast whenever you're trying to freeze enemies or you're trying to freeze a specific enemy. Specifically like Hulk Busters, because those are a pain in the butt to defeat. So my advice would be is activate Coolant Blast around Hulk Busters for Cosmic Child. That way you can freeze them and just do lots of damage with Jericho and any other moves. So for instance, if I wanted to freeze this enemy right here, I would just go close to him, right? Do damage somewhere else. Get close to him. Boom. That way I can freeze this enemy and then do my rotation. And then do damage and then move away. See what I mean? Now, when do you use a signature? Again, I usually like to do signature combined with Death from Above, Arc Reactor Overload, possibly Coolant, and then signature. Because that way I'm near the enemy, and then I know for a fact that I'm going to hit the enemy with all these damages, with all these powers that increase their damage when you have certain toggles on. Look something like this. See what I mean? That way I know that when I'm doing this, what I know is that they're getting damage from Death from Above, Cooling Blast, and Arc Reactor Overload, and the signature. And then with these two Jericho and Micro Missiles, you can activate those whenever the cooldown's over. We do it again. And you keep doing damage with Repulsor, and then whatever, so far. And that's usually my rotation, I guess you can say, my playstyle with Ironman. Now, as I mentioned, why would you want Death from Above here? It is melee. And so when you have, and I'll show you, this particular, there you go, this one right here, Frenzy, when you hit with the melee power, you gain critical damage rating. This is a melee power. So if you do this power with Death from Above and do his move shortly after, which is Arc Reactor, Coolant Blast, and Signature, you're getting those powers that are activated after Death from Above get critical damage rating 60, which is not a lot, but it's something better than nothing. Okay, so keep that in mind, hence why I have that particular one power point here to get that benefit from the extra perk. And that's really it. Now let me show you Unibeam. I think I have it here activated. Yeah. So as I mentioned, okay, as I mentioned, Unibeam. As I mentioned earlier, that if you're not doing Cosmic Trial, I would definitely replace one of his powers with Unibeam. It's because Unibeam does a lot of damage. It does lots and lots of damage. And so since my build is energy based and his power is energy damage based, it's going to even do even more damage. And plus with the toggled on, it's going to give you even more damage. But for Cosmic Child, I probably would not recommend it because it does take up a long time. It is very effective and it does a lot of damage, but it does take up a long time. So let me just show you what I mean. Okay. And again, let's say you're playing, and then see See what I mean? It just to get the full 100% fully charged damage. It does take a bit of time. You can do it quickly, but you want to do the maximum damage, and you want to get that 100% full charge. That way you get the full damage. See what I mean? But again, if you're doing custom trial, I would definitely keep it within these powers right here with this certain build, because again, this power it automatically sets missiles and does damage automatically. And obviously Jericho. But if I was playing but not custom trial, I would definitely have it set up very exactly like this, except I replace micro missiles with Unibeam. That way I can get the benefits of all energy based build and so forth. And that's it, you guys. That's my build guide for Ironman. It's very simple, nothing too complex. Again, activate Jericho, place it somewhere to a specific enemy, activate micro missiles whenever their cooldown's over, do Death from Above and Arc Reactor together, or you can do Death from Above, Arc Reactor, Signature together, or Death from Above, Arc Reactor, Coolant, and Signature together. If you want to freeze a specific energy, get close to them, do Coolant Blast, you freeze them, and you can activate other moves and so forth. And then my Repulsor, I just use it whenever my powers are in cooldown. And that's really it, you guys. That's my build guide for Ironman. It might not be the best, but hey, I was able to pass Cosmo Trial with 3,000 Omegas with this specific build. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. Again, if you have any questions or requests, please leave it in the comment section below. If you want to see more videos, if you want to see any updated videos, please subscribe to my channel. I really do appreciate it. It does support the channel a lot. And again, if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Hopefully this helps you guys out with Ironman, because I know it took me some time to play with him and kind of get his playstyle, but once I'm able to build this decent build and play with him a little bit, figured him out how to play with them, and that's it, you guys. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, again, leave it in the comment section below, and yeah, all right, have a good one.